Devils and Chainsaw Man are an evil based on fear. The stronger the fear, the stronger the devil. So you'd think making this ranking would be straightforward, right? Wrong. Devil's strength is all over the place, and there's very little rhyme or reason as to why some devils are so strong, which only gets worse when fiends and hybrids get involved. But don't worry, I've got it all figured out and have gathered a pretty solid ranking for you here today. Here is the basic criteria I used. In last place, we have a 6-way tie between the Bee Devil, Fish Devil, Grape Devil, Marshmallow Devil, Pig Devil, and Sugihagi. These guys are all in last because we truly have no idea what they do or how strong they are, as their abilities never got showcased and we never actually saw them in combat at all. As such, it's impossible to get an idea of their strength, and so they all score 0 in the rubric, which is why they're all tied for last. In 49th, we have Bucky, the Chicken Devil. There are two main reasons Bucky is not in the tie for last. First of all, we actually see how he dies as he is crushed by Asa, meaning it takes the weight of an average 15-year-old Japanese girl to kill him. This is at least a qualification for strength, which is more than we get for any of the devils tied for last. Bucky is also capable of understandable speech, which is a trait usually reserved for pretty strong devils. Beyond that though, Bucky does absolutely nothing notable, which is why he just barely scrounges his way out of last. In 48 is the Tomato Devil, the first devil we see in the series. This one is still incredibly weak. The main reason it is above the other weaklings is because it at least has a notable unique ability, which is that it can reproduce from its seeds. This might not seem like a big deal, because it's not, but it's more than any devil below it can do, so here it is. At 47 is the Sea Cucumber Devil. The Sea Cucumber Devil could be argued to be below the Tomato Devil as it doesn't have a unique ability, but this devil was called into public safety unlike the Tomato Devil, which means it at least has some tiny amount of significance. Plus, it took power dropping from the top of a building to kill it, insinuating it has decent defenses, which makes sense considering it is the Sea Cucumber. In 46 is the Mantis Devil. We don't know much about this devil, but we do know it has a contract with public safety, meaning that it has some sort of usefulness, which is more than we can say for any of the devils we've talked about so far. It was even used by Makima, which is a pretty good indicator that it's strong, but we've seen so little of it that I would feel weird putting it too much higher up. At 45, we have the Muscle Devil. This is the first devil with a cool and decent ability. The Muscle Devil is able to take over the muscles of anyone that it has contact with. This includes stuff like the mouth and limbs, allowing it to lure in people to control. So with this power, why isn't it higher up? Well, it got killed by Denji in like 1 second. Granted, that was Denji, who we'll be talking about in a little bit, but it's still never a good look to die in one hit, no matter who you're facing. Plus, this devil was cut from the anime adaptation, so there's no way it's actually significant or strong. At 44, we have our first hybrid, which is the Whip Hybrid. It might seem weird that a hybrid is this low on the list, but the fact of the matter is, Whip has accomplished absolutely nothing. She might be strong as she is a hybrid, but what has she actually done? The answer is nothing, as she has lost every time she transforms. This could be a bit of Jogo syndrome, as we've only seen her fight some extremely strong enemies, but even then she seems to be on the weaker end of the hybrids. With literally 0 feats, I can't justify putting her any higher, even though she might be considerably stronger. The title of a hybrid only carries her so far. At 43 is the Cockroach Devil. This thing's ranking is being carried by its physical strength. It was capable of blowing through a building and going toe-to-toe with Denji for a while, which is pretty impressive, but it has literally 0 notable abilities, which is not good in the world of Chainsaw Man. I should mention that at this point, devils will actually start being kind of powerful, so from here on out we can actually rank them with some evidence rather than just trying to vibe them out. Well, except the next one, which is the Punishment Devil. Punishment Devil was used by Makima during her fight with the Gun Devil. It appears to be this one with all the heads and stuff, but we don't know for sure. This makes it hard to pinpoint its exact strength like many of the devils down here. However, if Makima used it against the Gun Devil and it was part of her plan that allowed her to kill the devil in a matter of minutes, that means it must be decently powerful. There's probably a good argument for it being higher up, but I love me some evidence, and it has about as much evidence as there is that the earth is flat. At 41 is Pinksty. Pinksty is kind of unique, as she doesn't seem particularly strong, but she does have a great ability. Being able to instantly tell which devils a human has contract with is pretty good with the right support, especially for a fiend like Pinksty who seems to be pretty intelligent. The main thing holding her back is that she has literally 0 combat accomplishments. Maybe if she fought someone other than Kishibe, she could be higher up. At 40, we have Miri. aka the Longsword Hybrid. This dude, much like the other two hybrids down here, just does nothing besides getting diced up. I have no idea how this dude got a volume cover considering he did next to nothing in the series and promptly disappeared. He has no notable feats and just seems like a worse version of Katana Man, which is pretty impressive considering Katana Man isn't even that strong, as we'll be talking about in a little bit. And at 39, we have the final failure of a hybrid, Spear. Spear is over Miri and Whip for two reasons. First of all, he actually landed a hit on Puchito, which is pretty impressive for a failure like him. And second, he actually seems somewhat smart and level-headed. Well, at least compared to Whip and Longsword. Now, that's not really saying that much, all things considered, but it is enough to place him above the other two. 38 is the Mold Devil. The Mold Devil is one of those devils that seems like it could be really strong, but we only see it used once, and that one time it did absolutely nothing. The ability to grow mold in the heart and lungs of opponents is pretty crazy, and against a lot of opponents, it would be an effective way to handicap their abilities, and should be hard to heal due to the nature of mold if they're capable of healing. It just so happens the one person they used it against could make their body explode to destroy the mold. That being said, it did seem to actually affect Reese, which is more than we can say for 99% of the stuff public safety tried, so that at least counts for something. At 37 is the Stone Devil. The Stone Devil is another one of those devils that seems really good in theory, but we just don't see it enough to know for sure. We know its contract allows its users to turn beings into stone after drawing a transmutation circle. Considering devils are usually stronger than their contracts, this means the Stone Devil could be pretty powerful, but the only time we actually see the devil, it gets crushed by darkness, so we don't really know. This means we are going off just the contract, which is still decently strong, but not anything special. At 36, we have Gilly, the Guillotine Devil. Gotta love this guy. Gully seems to have a pretty good ability as he can easily cut stuff up, which makes sense for a Guillotine Devil. The issue with this devil is we've never actually seen it kill anyone, as it only got used once and then turned back into a piece of dog poop. Not getting a confirmed kill is the main reason he's down here, despite seeming decently strong. At 35 is Long. Despite seeing Long for only a couple of chapters, she seems like a pretty strong fiend. She was able to temporarily restrain power, and more importantly, she can breathe fire, like a dragon. I don't think I need to explain why breathing fire is a broken ability, but it's not her only ability. As a fiend, she also has the ability to heal from blood and is generally built more tough than a human. At 34, we have the Bat Devil. Now we're finally getting into some relatively strong devils. The Bat Devil was the first major devil we saw in the show. It is capable of flight and sonic attacks as well, but its main draw is being decent at hand-to-hand combat. He's the first devil that has a high destructive power besides Cockroach, as he has absolutely no problem destroying buildings. Unfortunately, devils scale really high, so even strong devils are not that strong in the universe of Chainsaw Man, which is why he's down here. Right above Bat is his girlfriend, Leech. To be honest, it's hard to tell which of these two is actually stronger, as Denji fights Leech right after Bat, and he does so without his chainsaws, meaning he's in a weakened state, but he does struggle a lot more against Leech than he does against Bat because of this. The main reason I'm putting Leech over Bat is because it took the Fox Devil to kill it when Bat was just killed by Season 1 Denji. At 32, we have Beam. I love Beam. Such a happy little shark dude. And he's decently strong too. He has this really cool ability to swim through solid objects, which makes him surprisingly stealthy for a fiend. On top of this, he can also partially or completely turn into a shark, but that's only temporarily. The main thing holding Beam back from being higher up is that he is just not intelligent, like at all. The dude makes even powers seem smart, which is a pretty big accomplishment in a way. At 31, we have another fiend, the Nail Fiend. Despite only seeing the Nail Fiend in action a couple of times, we have a pretty good idea of how strong it is. Its main method of attacking is nailing opponents with its nails and hammer. This isn't a super strong ability, but the Nail Fiend seems to be really good at using it, as it nailed a bunch of church members to the walls with seemingly no misses. On top of this, the fiend seems to be really smart too, as it is capable of strong speech and even humor. At 30, we have the Curse Devil. The Curse Devil is a super powerful devil. After a victim is struck by a nail 3 times, the person with the contract commands the devil to attack, and the victim gets brutalized by the devil, doing massive damage to their body. This is strong enough to incapacitate both Katana Man and Denji when we saw it used on them, although they did both recover pretty quickly. While this is a strong ability, the conditions for activation are quite high. Landing 3 clean hits on an opponent in combat is not easy, and setting this up outside of combat is also somewhat complex, as most people would probably notice if they were getting stabbed. This high commitment for usage is the main reason it's not higher up, as there are plenty of devils that can do way more damage with way less work. At 29 is the Eternity Devil. Eternity is another weird one to rank. It has a pretty good ability as it can trap people in a space by making the space repeat forever. The only ways out of this space are to kill Eternity itself or to completely destroy the building the space is based on. While this ability is really strong, Eternity itself is not, as it was pretty easily defeated by Yoru and Season 1 Denji after a long fight. Neither of these characters were particularly strong at the time, which leads me to believe that neither is Eternity. At 28, we have our first major antagonist, Katana Man. As far as hybrids go, Katana Man is pretty middle of the road, but as a devil, he is a bit below average. He has his one strong move where he can kind of teleport, but besides that, he doesn't have much going for him. He's just not particularly strong, and he was defeated super early into the series, which just shows that. At 27, we have the control devil, Nayuta. You didn't think Makima would actually be way down here, did ya? Nayuta is an extremely nerfed version of Makima. Their abilities are pretty much the same, being able to control those that are weaker than her. The difference is Makima has so much more experience and so many more contracts that her strength is magnitudes beyond Nayuta's. In fact, we have direct evidence of this, as Nayuta can only use 3 chains at a time and Makima can use dozens or more. On top of this, being weaker for the control devil is a huge deal, as it means not being able to control stronger beings. This really limits Nayuta's power, and it is the main reason that she's down here besides being, you know, like a 10-year-old. At 26, we have the zombie devil. Seeing zombie this high up might seem surprising, but hear me out. The zombie devil essentially turns people into zombies, either through having its zombies bite them or via a devil contract. This is basically a worse version of the doll devil who has the same ability, but way better. Considering the doll devil is among the strongest devils in the show, the zombie devil is at least half decent. Plus, Makima used the devil herself, which is a pretty good indicator of strength too. Really, I think zombie just got a bit unlucky facing one of the few characters that literally cannot die. In 25, we have the future devil. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea where to put this guy. On one hand, he has no real offensive capabilities that we know of, but his ability to see the future with no conditions is so broken. Like, the dude could have known everything that happened in the series before anyone else did. On top of this, he's also considered one of the strongest devils in public safety, which is also an attribution to his strength considering they have devils like the Fox Devil, the Curse Devil, and the Mold Devil. But the lack of combat evidence is a really huge deal, so even though he might be extremely strong, I can't justify putting him any higher. Ironically, our next devil has quite a bit of combat experience, and that's Angel. Angel has to be one of my favorite characters in the show. He sucks the life out of humans he touches and can use said power to create weapons. These weapons get stronger the more years he commits to them, and there seems to be no limit to how strong these can get considering Makima used a 1,000-year spear. Angel is also a highly intelligent devil, making him pretty good for combat, and we do see him kill a number of dolls with just one swing of his sword, which is also ironically more combat experience than 99% of the people below him on this list. At 23 is the Octopus Devil. This devil is surprisingly strong considering I don't know anyone who's afraid of octopuses. It has a number of abilities, from being able to spread ink to being able to grab things literally out of nowhere. Like, where's it coming from? On top of this, it's also pretty good for combat, as it has been seen taking out a ton of dolls at once. This devil is super versatile overall, and it also seems oddly strong, which is why it's here near the middle of the list. At 22, we have the Cosmos Fiend. Cosmo is a very weird devil to rank. On one hand, it has the power to theoretically melt the brain of any opponent in the show, no matter how strong. This ability is outright broken in every capacity, but there are 2 issues. First of all, against strong opponents, it appears there needs to be a charge up. This means it can only really be used against those that are already incapacitated at some level. And second of all, Cosmo has literally no physical strength. The girl can barely walk, let alone fight, so while her ability is one of the strongest in the series, it is held back by a number of limitations, which is almost exactly opposite to our next devil, the Fox Devil. The Fox Devil is one of the devils we see used the most in Season 1 and Part 1 in general. By giving up a part of their body, a public safety member can summon a part of the Fox Devil. For people the Fox Devil finds attractive, this is the head, and for everyone else, it's the paws. Regardless, these body parts are highly destructive and the cost to use them seems pretty low. What's interesting is we've never seen the full Fox Devil manifest, so it's likely stronger than what we see, but it's really hard to say. Regardless, it is one of the more used devils in the series, which is why it's so high up. Rounding out the top 20, we have the Ghost Devil. I'm gonna be honest, the main reason this devil is above Fox is because we know it can easily overwhelm Katana Man, whereas Fox was not able to do this in its partial form. Could the full Fox Devil defeat Katana Man? Probably, but there is another hint that Ghost is stronger than Fox, which is the severity of its contract, which cost Himeno her life for a full manifestation. Plus, I think ghosts are generally more feared than Fox boxes, so you could go that route too if you wanted. At 19, we have the Violence Fiend. Violence is just one of those devils you expect to be strong based on the name alone. A lot of people are afraid of violence in some capacity, and it really shows in this devil. The dude was strong enough to get accolades from Reese, and he was even one of the few beings to stand up to darkness and almost land a few hits on him, even though he did get decimated. He even has to wear a mask to keep him chill. He's basically the Toji of this universe. Really physically strong, but with no notable abilities. This is the main reason he's not higher up, as having some sort of abilities is starting to become really important at this point. This can be clearly seen with our devil at 18, the Snake Devil. Snake is a very powerful devil with a pretty low commitment contract, who's able to one-shot the Ghost Devil with literally no problem at just the cost of a fingernail. More importantly though, it seems to have really good support abilities, as it can essentially store devils inside it to use later. We see this when Sawatari releases the Ghost Devil from its mouth, and when it's used in Makima's fight against the Gun Devil to transport the rest of the devils she used. Between the ability to one-shot other strong devils and this transportation ability, it should be obvious why the Snake Devil is this high up. At 17 is Power, aka the Blood Fiend and Blood Devil. Power is great. Her ability is super versatile, as she can use her blood to make any weapon she wants. We've seen this be used to make a hammer, knives, and spears. She can even store her blood for later, as we saw when her and Denji fought Kishibe. The main thing holding Power back from being higher up is just her intelligence. As much as I love her, it's no secret that Power is quite dumb, and at this point that starts to matter quite a bit. She also can't use her ability too freely, or else she'll pass out from blood loss. Although her full form seems to be able to use blood with no drawback, but that was also while she was being powered by Puchita's blood, so it's hard to say if she's actually capable of using her blood freely. Guess she'll just have to come back to life so we can figure it out. Come on, Fujimoto, please. Give Power back. At 16, we have Princey the Spider Devil. It might seem weird to have Princey over Power, but if you put just a bit of thought into it, I promise it makes sense. Princey's legs are extremely powerful. We see them absolutely destroy huge crowds of zombies, while Power has to take her time wading through a crowd of the same size. On top of this strength, Princey also seems to be quite a bit smarter than Power was, as she was able to fully comprehend Makima's orders and seemed to even be one of Makima's most trusted devils. She also has the ability to act as a transport to hell, which is a really important ability that we only see 2 other devils have. She's really just a well-rounded devil that checks all the boxes for what makes a devil strong. Speaking of devils that can summon people to hell, next we have a tie between the Hell Devil and the Justice Devil. These two are tied because they seem to be complete opposites. The Hell Devil seems extremely strong, as it requires a huge sacrifice to summon in any capacity. Even just using the devil to bring people into hell requires 4 sacrifices, and to actually summon the devil itself requires 6. This insinuates it's a hugely powerful devil. There's just one issue. We never actually see it accomplish anything offensive, as it gets absolutely diced up by Puchita when it gets summoned. That being said, the ability to transport any being into hell is a broken ability, as in general, 99% of victims will not be able to survive there. This is just one of those devils that should probably be higher up, but without more evidence, I can't really justify it, which is directly contrasted by Justice, which we have plenty of evidence for. Justice is a pretty strong devil, being able to morph its body into weapons it needs and being fairly destructive as well. It was able to easily outmaneuver Denji and Asa, which means it's pretty mobile too. There's really no weakness for this devil, it's just a well-rounded devil that gets outclassed by the devils moving forward, and I'm confident of that because we have so much evidence for it. At 14, we have the Typhoon Devil. Despite playing a fairly small role in the story, the Typhoon Devil is actually very strong. Not only does it have highly destructive capabilities, being able to just run through buildings, it also brings a highly destructive storm wherever it goes. This storm is able to easily throw around entire cars and easily sweep people up as well, which only adds to its destructive output. But believe it or not, this storm is not just a complete out of control mess. It seems Typhoon can actually control it to some extent, as it was able to use the wind from the storm to deliver blood to Reese. It also seems to be made out of some weird tentacle things too, so it has a reliable way to attack as well. Really, the only downside to this devil is that it is just so big, which makes it an easy target, but that doesn't matter too much when it can do as much damage as it does and cause so much chaos. Speaking of chaos, at 13 is Barum, aka the Flamethrower Hybrid. It's been a while since we saw a hybrid, so I hope this gives you an idea of just how much stronger these top 4 are. Barum has 2 aspects that make him really strong. The first is his destructive capabilities. Being the Flamethrower Hybrid, Barum is able to expel huge amounts of fire from his hands when he transforms. These flames were enough to completely destroy a building, and while it didn't do much to Puchita, the fact he can do so much damage with a seemingly regular attack is really impressive. The other aspect is his mentality. This dude is completely insane and completely evil. He's willing to do literally whatever he needs to do to get what he wants, making him a serious threat on the battlefield. I mean, he let 7 dogs and a cat burn alive. What kind of psycho does that? Really, there's nothing holding Baron back from being higher up. He just gets outclassed by some of the other devils, like Fami, who is our devil at 12. Fami is really weird to rank. The famine devil herself is not that strong. The girl can't run and can't fight to save herself. What makes her broken is her ability, which allows her to control those who she starves. While this ability does have some restrictions, and the devils she uses this ability with are apparently weaker than they regularly are, she still has some incredibly powerful devils in her arsenal, such as the Guillotine Devil and, you know, the Falling Devil, one of the strongest devils in Chainsaw Man. On top of this, Fami also seems to be quite physically tough, surprisingly enough. Yoru basically spent an entire arc kicking the girl around, and she barely sustained any damage from it. This means Fami might be the most hardy horsewoman we've seen so far, as even Makima seemed to have fairly human durability. The main thing holding Fami back from being even higher up is that lack of physical strength. Not being able to fight for herself is a really big deal. Hopefully we'll see her throw hands at some point soon so we can confirm or deny this placement. At 11, we actually have the other major horsewoman of part 2, Yoru. Yoru has one of my favorite abilities in the show. Basically anything she or Asa touches becomes a weapon. This can be people or inanimate objects. This is already interesting on its own, but what makes it even more interesting is the more Asa values an item, the stronger the weapon it will turn into becomes. On top of this, the more the fear of war grows, the stronger Yoru becomes in general. These two concepts compound to make Yoru a really strong devil in multiple ways. And we even saw her eclipse one of the strongest human devil hunters in Yoshida with little effort on her part. There's really nothing holding Yoru back from being higher up. She's just a bit outclassed for now. But considering the fear of war is on the rise, this might change as time goes on. Rounding out the top 10 is the Bomb Devil, aka Riz or Reze or whatever. Bomb is an incredibly powerful hybrid, and in my opinion, the best at using their power. As the name implies, the Bomb hybrid makes use of bombs and explosions. She does this by turning parts of her own body into explosives. What makes Bomb different from pretty much every other hybrid is she uses her ability to the fullest extent. She uses the bombs for combat, for mobility, and even for healing. This makes her extremely threatening, and as if that wasn't enough, she's also great at hand-to-hand combat, which makes her explosive capabilities just that much scarier. She's also one of the few characters that didn't actually lose her arc. Makima had to step in to kill her, which shows just how much of a threat she truly is. Despite all these accolades, I just can't justify putting her any higher, because at this point, she just gets completely outpaced, as we can see with the devil at 9th, the Doll Devil. And when I say doll, I mean just doll. We'll be talking about doll plus darkness in a little bit. Even in its base form, the Doll Devil is extremely dangerous. As we mentioned earlier, it has the ability to turn anyone it touches into dolls, and then those dolls can turn other people into dolls as well. This allows the Doll Devil to create a huge army of dolls in a matter of seconds, and we see the devil create at least 57 in her initial assault. On top of these regular dolls, the devil can also create smart dolls, which are dolls that believe they're human, which brings the Doll Devil to a whole nother level of power. And as if this wasn't enough, the Doll Devil's dolls can also change their bodies at will, turning their arms into swords and creating little pointy things on their feet as well. They can even mimic humans too, which makes them harder to kill for some people. We also see Doll convert fiends into dolls, but this is only done after she consumes a piece of darkness, so it's unclear if this is an ability exclusive to that form. These dolls also turn back into fiends after the devil is defeated, unlike regular humans who are dollified for life. At 8, we have Denji. Denji is incredibly hard to rank. He is just an enigma in every single way. His biggest advantage in combat, and the reason he's ranked so high, is that he simply cannot die. No amount of damage or power will kill him. I mean, we saw him get completely dissected, and the dude got put back together like a bionicle and was completely fine. He got diced up in hell and literally reattached his own head. He set himself on fire to beat the Doll Devil and was again completely fine. Being completely indestructible is a great advantage in literally every fight. Another bizarre advantage for Denji is his lack of intelligence, or rather, his unique way of thinking. Show me one other character that would think of setting themselves on fire to kill darkness, or one that would use chainsaw chains like horse reins. The dude has such a unique way of thinking, and while it usually leads to him just being horny, on the battlefield it makes him a surprisingly unpredictable opponent, which makes him hard to deal with. With all that being said, he's not undefeatable. We've seen Denji lose a number of times throughout the show, either physically like when he lost to Katana Man or when he got dissected, or when he loses emotionally like when he lost to Makima's abuse. His lack of intelligence does also cost him occasionally, as as he doesn't really try to figure out situations, just ways to brute force them, or he just accepts them, which doesn't really work out for him either. Overall, Denji is a really strong fighter. He just has some really tough competition at this point, like 7, which is Quan Chi, the lesbian lacerator. Quan Chi is without a doubt the strongest hybrid in the show. Unlike most hybrids which are only strong with their weapons out, Quan Chi is also insanely strong in her human form. She cruised through 57 dolls in a matter of seconds, outboxed both Yoshida and Kishibe with almost no effort, single-handedly beat 3 other hybrids without transforming, and pulls mad fiends. Her human form on its own is likely a top 10 or top 12 character, so the fact she also has a great hybrid transformation really pushes her into the upper echelon of Chainsaw Man characters. Her crossbow form was able to hold its own against Doll plus Darkness for a while, which is really impressive considering just how strong that devil was. On top of this, she's also highly intelligent and highly analytical, helping Denji think through how to confront the dolls while also fighting them herself. Overall, Quan Chi is an absolute menace, and it should be no surprise that she's this high up. At 6 is the Doll Devil with the Darkness Devils upgrade. Man, the International Assassins arc sure gave us some strong devils, huh? I don't want to spend too much time on this entry, as Doll plus Darkness can do everything the Doll Devil can do, but it also has the ability to heal itself in darkness and is also much smarter, as the piece of darkness helped her understand the universe, or whatever. These two aspects made her nearly impossible to kill, and it took a combination of Denji literally lighting himself on fire and a full power Halloween to take her down. This was only possible because Halloween targets mental damage rather than physical, and if this had not been an option, I have a hard time seeing the Dark Doll Devil being defeated. Even characters we haven't talked about yet, like the Gun Devil or Chainsaw Man, would struggle against this devil, but I do think they would edge her out a little bit. In 5th, we have Puchita, aka the Chainsaw Devil. This is basically Denji on steroids, meth, and with 100,000 IQ. Puchita is a beast in every single way. The dude won a 7-on-1 in one of the sickest fights in the series. He has immense physical strength, being able to kick multiple hybrids through 4 buildings at a time. His speed is also unbelievable, as moves like Katana Man's Fast Slash are not only predictable to Puchita, but completely punishable. But I think the most notable attribute of his is his battle IQ. I'm not a huge fan of the phrase battle IQ, but I think it makes sense in this context, as Puchita came up with some crazy maneuvers to adequately defeat the weapon's devils, like pulling out his own heart and kicking it back to Earth, or using his chains to kill 4 opponents at once. He is just a monster in every single way, with no real weaknesses either. He also, of course, has the ability to erase any devil he eats from existence, which is crazy on so many levels. But this video is focused mostly on ranking by power, and this isn't an ability that will outright help him in combat most of the time. Also, for the record, I'm just going off of part 1 Chainsaw Man for this video, because I'm writing this script literally the day 171 came out, so it's entirely possible that this list will be outdated in the next week or two depending on what Puchita is about to do to these devils. Anyway, in 4th is the Gun Devil. Gun over Puchita might seem surprising, and it's totally possible I'm glazing, but I think it makes a lot of sense. In its first appearance of just 5 minutes, the Gun Devil killed 1.2 million people around the world. There are 2 notable things here. First of all is the sheer amount of death it caused. 1.2 million deaths in general is insane, but doing it in just 5 minutes is even crazier. But it makes perfect sense when we see it in action. The Gun Devil is able to perfectly shoot anyone it wants as long as it sets a condition. This could be the victims being born in a certain month, or having their name start with a certain letter, or pretty much anything the devil wants. As I'm sure is obvious, this makes it incredibly deadly towards humans and towards devils as well, as it had no problem giving Makima one of her 29 deaths at even just 20% of its power. The other notable aspect of this devil is its speed. Being able to hit multiple continents in just 5 minutes means it has to be going insanely fast. That is far beyond supersonic speeds, and I believe it makes the Gun Devil the fastest devil we've seen so far. The only thing holding this devil back from being in the top 3 is the fact we've only seen its 20% form. While the feats of 100% are insanely impressive, the 20% form kind of got diced up really easily, which makes me question exactly how powerful the 100% form really is, and if it would actually be stronger than our person at number 3, which is, of course, Makima. Yeah, this shouldn't be a surprise to you. Makima is, without a doubt, the strongest non-primal devil in the series. Where do I even start with this one? As a fully realized and fully dominant control devil, Makima is a menace in every sense of the word. Her abilities allow her to control any being that is weaker than her. This includes devils and humans, and would likely include primal devils if she ever got that strong. We don't know the exact condition for her to consider herself stronger than others, but we know for strong strong opponents like Pochita, she needs to beat them in battle to control them. For others that are considerably weaker, the control is likely automatic, as she can probably see herself beating them easily. This control has given her access to a huge number of devil contracts with a number of powerful devils. She has known contracts with Angel, Zombie, Mantis, Snake, Future, and the Spider Devil, as well as having control over the 7 weapons devils. Her most notable contract, though, is with the Prime Minister of Japan, which distributes any damage she sustains across Japanese citizens in the appropriate injuries and illnesses, giving her essential immortality. In addition to this, she can also borrow the senses of small animals like rats and birds, and might even be able to travel in the form of a horde of rats, but it's never really explained exactly how this works, and she only does it once. Oh, she's also able to somehow just blast people with a finger gun. I don't even know what to call this ability, but it seems incredibly powerful, as it was able to send Chainsaw Man into space and was the only attack that actually damaged the Darkness Devil. And as if that wasn't enough, she's also crazy good at hand-to-hand combat, as she was able to beat fake Pochita Chainsaw Man with little issue. She truly has no real weaknesses, and the only reason she was not able to accomplish her goal was an oversight she made by not learning Denji's scent, which led to her being eaten. But seriously, one single oversight in everything is so impressive, and it's just another reason that she is a top 3 devil. And now we move into the 2 primal devils, Darkness and Falling. And before you leave that comment about the Death Devil, I will talk about them and Fire briefly at the end of this video, so please just hold your horses. Falling and Darkness are by far the 2 strongest devils we see in Chainsaw Man, and I don't think there's any argument there. As primal devils, neither of them have ever been killed, and according to the Falling Devil, there is no weapon humanity currently possesses that could kill either of them. This doesn't just make them functionally immortal like Makima, it means they're actually immortal. The Falling Devil got diced up time and time again just to be fine like 2 panels later. Darkness only took damage from one single attack out of everything the protagonists threw at them, and that was from number 3 on our list. But their immortality is only the start of it, as both devils are extremely powerful offensively as well. Falling can basically control gravity on a global scale, as her falling ability is gravity manipulation, which has been stated to have effects across the entire world. On top of this, she can also increase gravity to such a high degree that it will instantly obliterate opponents, and she also makes people around her far more depressed and willing to take their own lives. This plays into her ability to send people to hell if they fall upwards towards the doors she can create in the sky. Darkness's abilities, on the other hand, are a lot more opaque and hard to understand. It seems it can just sever limbs with no conditions, obliterate the bodies of opponents with a single word, make opponents internally hemorrhage at a glance, do the same force stuff Makima can but even stronger, summon devils into the palm of his hand to kill them, and also summon a sword that can do enormous damage to any who are stabbed by it. We've also seen what just a piece of darkness can do to a devil, as it turned Doll into an absolute monster, as we already covered. To be honest, it's kind of hard to tell which of these 2 is actually stronger. Darkness seems to be more suited for combat and can threaten way stronger devils than Falling, but Falling seems to have a much higher destructive capability, which makes her more deadly in general. Plus, the Falling we saw was in a weakened state as a pawn for Fami. Even with that though, I feel like Darkness just has more raw power. Maybe it's just his aura, but there's something about Darkness that just seems so overwhelmingly strong and deadly, and Falling is just missing that a little bit. So for these 2, I'd have to go with Falling in second and Darkness in first, and Death at 0. Yeah, I mean, we know Death is the strongest devil in the series, right? It's been stated a number of times, but we have just never seen the devil, and we don't know anything about the devil at all. I have a hard time putting a giant question mark at first, no matter what is said about it. A lot was said about the Gun Devil, and it was still pieced up in like 2 panels. It's the same reason I chose not to include Fire either, as we don't know much about it, but it's obviously insinuated to be quite powerful. I'm going to put Death at an honorary 0, meaning if you want to put it at first and move everything else down, that's totally fine, but if you don't want to include it for the same reasons that I don't want to include it, that's also fine. And it will also be omitting Fire entirely for now. When we learn more about it though, things can definitely change. For now though, if you made it to the end of the video, please be sure to subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me, and be sure to join the Discord as well. Thank you so much for your support as always, and I'll see you again next week for our next video.